Before I went back to the game, I tried to contact the person who sold the cartridge to me, but to no avail. I guess that seller is fun at parties. Joking aside, it was disappointing, but the game itself was more important. Once I had the chance to resume playing, I eagerly took it, hoping to find some answers to what happened on Ripple. After a bit, I saw the title of the second world. Hiemal. When Hiemal's board loaded in, I noticed that it was vertical, which was weird, since the maps in the base game were mainly horizontal. When I looked more closely, I was disappointed to see that I was now stuck with Moguera, a monster with only one attack that would burn through the power meter like a fire on an alcohol-covered rope. As for the music, it was a synth melody that I was barely able to hear over the wind sound effects. When I scrolled through the board, I noticed that there was only one enemy monster this time, Spacegodzilla. Well, I guess this game is as big a fan of Godzilla as I am, if it is going to pit Moguera against its only kaiju opponent in a movie. As for the levels, they are Autumn Forest, Blizzard, Icicle, Aurora, and Frozen Village. I went through 2 of the Autumn Forest levels, and both of them were the same, so I will just describe them as if it was a single level. But before that, I would like to talk about Moguera's updated moveset. Moguera's playstyle is similar to Godzilla in a sense, with the A and B buttons causing it to punch and kick respectively, while the start button causes Moguera to fire its beam attack from the base game, with the added benefit of using the up and down buttons to aim the projectiles it fires. With that preamble out of the way, onto the level itself. When I started the level, there was already a creature waiting for me. It appeared to have a ram's horns and beetle-like wings, but when I approached this beetle ram, it flew away. The music was a woodwind melody that I found oddly relaxing. The level was relatively peaceful, even if I did encounter some enemies in the form of red spider things halfway through, but the ones that tried to attack me were easily dealt with through a kick, which sent them flying off screen at a really fast pace. Blizzard was a snowy field devoid of life, allowing me to listen to the music clearly, which sounded like being frozen to death on another planet. I walked unopposed for 5 minutes, feeling cold the entire time, but that might be because I left my window open. Thankfully, before the on-screen snowstorm got too bad, I found what looked like the mouth of an icy cavern. The level ended once I entered it, but before I went on to the next level, I took a bit of a break to close the window. Icicle presumably takes place in the same cave I encountered at the end of Blizzard, with the music changing to a simple song that sounds like a piano melody backed by soft percussion. I was only able to walk through the level uninterrupted for 15 seconds before something happened. 2 icicles fell from the ceiling, causing me to take a fair bit of damage. In hindsight, I probably should have seen that coming, but now that my main obstacle has been established, I treaded with a bit more caution, backing away when an icicle fell. Occasionally, when an icicle fell, it would turn upside down and sprout legs. These icicle things were annoying to deal with, but were not too much of a problem. Before I left the level, I ran into one of those beetle rams from the Autumn Forest levels, which most likely froze to death. It was an eerie sight, but also what I suspected to be a failed attempt to be an invasive species. I got into a battle with Spacegodzilla shortly afterwards. While Spacegodzilla was not as hard as Aquidus, he was still a pretty tough opponent. One thing you might have noticed in the screenshot is what appears to be a crystal tower from Godzilla Unleashed. The tower's life is linked to Spacegodzilla's power. Whenever I broke it, Spacegodzilla would be temporarily stunned. I managed to do this twice. The music for this fight was a fast-paced composition with what sounded like the Japanese title theme playing at the 48-second mark. Fighting Spacegodzilla was like fighting a copy of the regular Godzilla, but in place of the atomic breath was a devastating corona beam, as you can see in the screenshot here. It took me 3 rounds before I could finally defeat Spacegodzilla, and those 2 times I broke that crystal tower definitely helped out. It seems I have leveled up again. That's definitely coming in handy for the future. But like defeating Godzilla back on Ripple, rather than being sent back to the board, I was taken to an unfamiliar situation in a familiar environment. Just like last time, the UI disappeared. Out of curiosity, I fired an I-beam at the block of ice in front of me, and like before, something happened.
Wait, is that? Oh my gods, I can see them!
You're a little energetic, aren't you?
Oh, sorry. I was not able to feel anything for the longest time.
Holy shit. You actually heard what I said?
Did I scare you? I did not mean to do that. My name is Niji. I hope we can get along in spite of this.
Well, that's... never mind. I am pretty sure that conversation was just a coincidence. There was no way a game could hear you, right? After calming my nerves from that admittedly awkward first impression, I decided to resume playing the game. But before we get into Aurora, I want to talk about something neat that happened during one of the icicle levels. While going through the final icicle level, I ran into an unexpected ally in the form of Violente. As for how she ended up here, your guess is as good as mine. Regardless of the circumstances, Violente proved to be a great help by using her acid to clear away many icicles. Before I could leave these icy caverns for good, I had to deal with a mini-boss in the form of a winged pair of claws. While I was able to land some hits on it, Violente did most of the work, mainly because I could not get close enough to the winged claws without getting knocked back by its only attack. Aurora appeared to be a tundra at night, with miniature mountains in the background. The Aurora near the HUD was static, but changed colors pretty smoothly, but not as smoothly as Niji's eyes. The music was a haunting but relaxing whistling that sounded like wind, with synth percussion picking in around 10 to 15 seconds in. The only enemies I encountered were giant arms with spiky fingers. They were the most annoying enemies I encountered in this game, despite being easy to destroy. Near the end of the second Aurora level, I ran into this strange creature wearing a helmet. For whatever reason, I tried to say hello. This was its response.
What do you think you're doing here?
I just wanted to say hi.
My civilization lost their heat sources and chance of survival. Just leave me alone.
Oh, that's... I hope you will be okay soon. I am pretty sure it's just a coincidence that the game was somehow able to respond to me with those messages. Well, time to finish this icy world. Frozen Village was as desolate as I was expecting, but the presumably kaiju-sized houses in the background confused me. But on building choices aside, the first section of this level had no signs of life, not even an enemy. The music reminded me of the original Metroid and had a bit of a bleak yet wonky feel to it. After a minute and a half of walking, I came across a tower without a door, or at least, what I thought was a tower at the time. Once I entered it, that's when the level began for real to me. The second section of the level was a vertical platforming section that appeared to take place inside of an unconventional refinery. The enemies from Icicle returned, but I also encountered a new enemy in the form of a four-legged crawler that was made of slime. I only took one screenshot of this section, as I had to concentrate on the platforming. Once I left the refinery, I quickly found what appeared to be utterly decimated ruins of what I assume was once the uptown area of a village. More of the slime crawlers appeared, but were easily taken care of with a few well-aimed kicks. Like before, I only took one screenshot of this part of the stage, mainly because of how repetitive it got, but I was able to level up before I got to the main boss of this world, and boy did it come in handy. Like before, I briefly lost control of Moguera as it walked to the center of the screen before stopping, with the same suspicious music that I heard when Aquidus appeared playing in the background. I saw a strange figure slowly rise in the background, which I had presumed to be Athermia, but without warning, the swords on the end of its arms slashed at the far ends of the ground, turning the affected areas into spikes. The main difficulty of Athermia's boss fight was the ice physics, since at any moment, I could have easily slipped into the spikes and lose an entire life bar, but that's not to say that Athermia itself is harmless. The music was the same, as when I fought Aquidus. I guess I should be expecting 2 of the music tracks to reappear for each end of world boss, not that I am complaining. Athermia's main attack is slashing at you with its swords in many different ways. This attack was the hardest to dodge due to how big they were. Athermia also possessed a foaming eye beam that was telegraphed by its pupils lighting up and following Moguera. Athermia's deadliest regular attack was a fireball that fell from its forge, which then caused a relatively small fire to spread across the arena, but Athermia only used the attack once due to a combination of how much power it consumed and well-aimed projectiles to its head, so I was lucky to get a screen cap of it in action. Once I had depleted Athermia of its life, I was just about to celebrate, before I realized that I would have to endure another desperation attack, and boy was I right. Athermia's arms fell off as its eyes, vents and forge began to glow before it unleashed a stream of fire that covered at least half the arena. Thankfully, I tricked Athermia into melting some spikes, but it fired 2 more fiery streams before it finally exploded and presumably died for good once its scorched head hit the ground. I guess that will be it for tonight. If my predictions are correct, I would be playing as Varen in the next world. But there are still a few questions racing through my mind. Who was Niji? What purpose did Aquidus and Athermia serve anyways? What's with the remains of the civilizations I encountered? I do not expect answers to these questions anytime soon. And if you're the seller of this game reading my account of it, I would like to get at least one answer from you regarding this game.